Warning, this episode contains mild to heavy explicit spoilers. Listen at your own risk.
Reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is The Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
A figure stalks the darkened streets hobbled by the encroaching revolution. After a night with a prostitute who claims he tried to bite her, ill-fated heroes try to dispatch the thirsty young man. In return, he savages them in a gruesome hammer attack. As he melts into the crowd, he witnesses the execution of Marie Antoinette. Later that night, he licks clean the guillotine of her blood, spiriting off into the night with her head in hand. He changes identities and works his way through ranking systems until he becomes an incredibly powerful and corrupt dictator, stepping on enemies and citizens alike with his supernatural presence. This is the opening to Pablo Larrain's El Conde, a black and white antithesis to Wes Anderson movies. Brutal, gory, almost soap opera-ish, while keeping a bizarre quirkiness. Larrain reimagines Augustus Pinochet's life as a 250-year-old vampire bent on self-destruction. The Chilean feature stars Jaime Valel as the titular El Conde, or the Count, if you will, an aging, tired vampire of all means: blood, money, human emotion. As he forcefully winds himself down and away from this world, he fakes his death. Only his longtime wife Lucia, played by Gloria Munchenmeyer, and right-hand psycho Fyodor, played by Alfredo Castro, really know what's the up and up. At night, a flying boogeyman wearing Pinochet's military garb floats from town to town, tearing out the hearts of unsuspecting individuals, gorging on their blood. This alerts Pinochet's adult children to come back home and sniff out the compound for any signs of wealth they can get a hold of. A triple-agent youthful nun, Carmencita, played by Pablo Larrain, has 3 different tasks under 3 different guises: to audit the family's wealth, to properly sort out the family's inheritance, to drive the evil out of Pinochet using exorcism, and to do well by her convent's denizens. The main story told here is the reversal of Pinochet's self-obliteration and his growing obsession with the beautiful, borzoi-like Carmencita's beauty. The comedy coming from the utter ignorance of Pinochet's spoiled children, they themselves bloodsuckers of a different type. I found the film to be the antithesis of Wes Anderson's, like said before, colorful, dry aesthetic. This film, beautifully shot in black and white with wide vistas, wonderful shot compositions, still filled with a weirdness, surprisingly graphic violence, and lots of dark humor. Pinochet's wife and her not-so-secret relationship with his hatchetmen as they have their own plans with the hidden wealth. Very much a Spanish soap opera for the highbrow audience. There is a wonderful narrative about over-excess and power, and what happens when you've done it all. The most damage to people, and no more earth left to scorch. Elegantly filmed and edited, with one of the greatest moments of cinema I've ever seen, where a newly crowned vampire flies across lush fields enjoying the freedom that evil brings. The narration by the eternally undead Margaret Thatcher, played by Stella Gonet, as she gives the audience a primer for the players and the history. With some really incredible performances, mainly a really stunning turn by Pablo Larrain, who plays Carmencita as the triple undercover nun, with her aquiline nose and beautiful statuesque features. She plays it straight as this inquisitive, very interested young woman who is slowly becoming corrupt under the watchful eye of El Conde. Her mannerisms, her youthful vibrance, which affects the whole family. Everyone in that family is ready to spill their guts about their corruption in an almost foolish manner as she takes every note and she compiles this into her secret case. In trying to speak with one of the other children into exorcising the ghosts from her father, is also a cover for something else. So she is always playing these weird triple agent modes throughout this film, and I find her really fascinating, and she is part of one of the most beautiful sequences ever shot on film for this movie alone. Alfredo Castro's Fyodor is a wonderfully menacing antagonist of the film, although obviously Jaime Valel as El Conde is an antagonist that we're following as the protagonist. Gloria Munchmeyer is also an antagonist. Basically, everybody in this film is an antagonist to some point. The children, played by Catalina Guerra as Luciana, Amparo Noguera, Antonia Zegers, Maciel Taigo, Diego Munoz. Everybody's fascinating in this film, and they're all darkly funny. And I thought the cast was incredibly strong for this film, and they treated everything with a straight face, and there was nothing over the top comical about any of them and their performances. A real treasure trove of acting by this cast that Larrain put together for this film. I thought the violence was surprisingly graphic in this movie. I really was almost as surprised as when I saw the same sort of level of violence in Pan's Labyrinth, with the bottle breaking off on the guy's face. There's something similar to this early on in the film. I really enjoyed the narrative of Margaret Thatcher's eternal whatever she is, and her narration throughout the film is really fascinating and well done, and it's funny, and it feels like a storybook. But I really think all in all it really works, and Larrain really has made pretty much a timeless film. Even though it's lensed in black and white, there is one sequence in color, which I won't spoil, that is so vibrant and so beautiful. The film just works as is, and I think it's a fascinating film that obviously is not going to be spoken about much because of how horrible streaming is treated for the most part, but I think it is a worthwhile feature to enjoy. I, of course, am the American watching this film with no personal knowledge of Pinochet, Thatcher, or most European history, found this a bizarre and fascinating look into seeing the politics of other nations through strange means. Larrain has created a wonderfully absurd horror comedy that is one of the best of the year and unjustly buried in the Netflix algorithm. A must-see, and a truly well-made film about the evils of ego and consumption. 8 out of 10, gifting your new lover with the head of Marie Antoinette. This has been The Horror Deconstruction.